Welcome to Climate Resilience Training Part 3, Building Community Climate Resilience. Key considerations and examples. In this video, we delve deeper into the MVP 2.0 process and talk about identifying and developing a seed project, crucial steps that brings your community resilience priorities into action. The MVP 2.0 program is action-oriented. We've developed resources to help you along the way. Included in your MVP 2.0 materials are a seed project plan and example seed project ideas, devised to inspire thinking around project development. And as you may remember, the GEAR guides offer actions to consider and case studies, providing you with additional inspiration for resilience projects and approaches. In this training, you'll hear from communities across Massachusetts, communities that have applied the core principles of the MVP program and have developed innovative and transformative strategies to build community resilience. Building community resilience can take many forms depending on your priorities. Some actions may focus on constructing or retrofitting resilient spaces, while others seek to rebuild social resilience and more equitable community systems. Your community may advance resilient zoning or design standards through policy change or strengthen capacity through community engagement, education, and training. And nature-based solutions will likely form a big part of your project toolbox. These are adaptation measures that are focused on the protection, restoration, or management of ecological systems to conserve public health, provide clean air and water, increase natural hazard resilience, and sequester carbon. Incorporating nature-based solutions in local planning and design projects produces long-term solutions that benefit human and natural systems. The MVP program has established core principles for developing equity-centered and impactful community resilience projects. These principles provide guidance for your seed project and increase the competitiveness of future action grant applications. Let's dive into the case studies and interviews.
My name is Tina Quagliato Sullivan. I am the Director of Disaster Recovery and Compliance for the City of Springfield. I think our largest vulnerability is actually the social and economic vulnerability of a large portion of our residents. So, what we have found in the wake of the June 1st, 2011 tornado is that our residents experienced an inequitable recovery. More specifically, our residents that were at lower income levels did not recover at the same speed as residents that were at higher income levels. When you drove through the city approximately 3 months after the tornado, the neighborhood that was most impacted, that had higher income levels, the recovery process was very visibly underway. There was lots of construction happening. There were homes that were already rebuilt at that point. And when you continued to drive to the neighborhood that had lower income levels, that recovery process was not nearly as visible. Obviously, we can't prevent natural disasters, so how can we best mitigate the fallout from those events? And so what we were really focused on was how do we get a more equitable recovery among all of our residents? One of the things that we tried to do was to bring in community-based organizations who would recruit residents to participate that sometimes were fairly critical of local government. And the idea there was we didn't want to avoid those criticisms or that constructive feedback from residents, because those are primarily the folks that we want to be targeting and making sure that we are adjusting our systems to reach. We utilized the MVP EJ mapping system so that we could geographically target the residents we most wanted to reach. We got a lot of feedback from residents, and part of that feedback was that the trust and the relationship with local government wasn't there in the way that it should be, and that the economic opportunity wasn't there in the way that it should be. Government and our actual hiring and employment can be a mechanism to address some of the economic vulnerability in our community. And so to do that, we also brought in some outside expertise and utilized our focus group to figure out how we could make our hiring processes more equitable and to utilize that as an engine for economic mobility for our residents. I think our goal here is to transform systems for the long term and to make it so that our most vulnerable residents feel like our government is both a trusted organization and is accessible to them in the aftermath of the disasters.
I'm Ashley Fisher. I'm the Director of Natural Resources for the town of Mashpee.
And I'm Jason Stiding. I'm the Mashpee-Wampanoag Tribe's Natural Resources Director.
Excess rainfall is causing cyanobacteria in our ponds, which is why we're here today in Santuit Pond, which is creating a detrimental effect to the homeowners around these ponds, just because of their concerns, their pets and animals and children entering the waterway, as well as potential aerosols from these cyanobacteria blooms and their die-off.
Talk to any of the elders in this area. It was once a sandy, rocky bottom shoreline where you could fish, swim, what have you. I remember fishing on this pond when I was a kid with my grandfather and father, ice fishing, and right now you just can't do it. You can, but you can't eat it.
Listening to some of the tribal elders during this whole project, it was eye-opening to see that this was once a winter habitat for the Wampanoag community, and that they did come here and meet here in the winter. We need to come together here again and learn about water quality and what we can do to improve our water quality town-wide. As part of the first grant, we did identify the 20 stormwater sites that did need to be remediated. In the second phase, we implemented one site on the Timber Lane area, and in the future, we'd like to see a resiliency trail from our Santuit Pond Town Landing that's connected to our one stormwater best management practice that was implemented. And along that trail, we want to provide homeowners with informational kiosks, with visuals of what you can do on your own property as far as rain gardens, installing native species around the shoreline, just bioswales in different areas where you see a depression on your lot, what you can do to hold water and limit stormwater from entering our ponds and estuaries and our groundwater. We've gotten together, held multiple public engagement and community educational sessions, and what that did is it helped with the creation of bylaws with all of the community engagement that was directly related to our MVP grants. We were able to get those articles passed at town meeting, and those articles were solely to improve our water quality.
There's another round of funding coming in, and most of that, I believe, will be going towards implementation projects to mitigate the stormwater runoff. As we've become involved and we've become more knowledgeable and understanding of how to affect some of this, the tribe can now go after grant funding as well. I envision us obviously partnering on this for quite a while.
We're going to continue with the community engagement. It is a huge portion of this project. Town meeting articles or suggestions or funding that is needed ultimately goes to the taxpayer, so it's very important to engage them and have them fully educated on what the town is doing, why we're doing it, and what the results could be.
Hi, my name is Don Humison. I'm the town administrator for the town of Chester, Massachusetts, and I'm here representing Chester, Blandford, and Middlefield, and we're 3 towns that are participating in the MVP Dirt Road Study. So the town of Chester worked collaboratively with our friends in the towns of Blandford and Middlefield, and the 3 of us went in and applied for this MVP grant. We're similar communities, we're small towns here in western Massachusetts. We have a lot of the same impacts to our infrastructure. We have a lot of dirt roads between us, and we thought this would be a good grant to discover sort of what our challenges were and how best to face them. So it's not about paving the dirt roads. The dirt roads aren't going away. We don't want them to go away, but we have to learn how to manage them. We're faced with a lot of challenges that we can't control. Obviously, weather, use, budgetary factors, those are all things that we are up against here in the small towns, and those aren't going to change. In fact, they might get worse. So if anything, we're hoping to get answers or ideas about how to manage these roads into the future so that our residents are happy, so that our infrastructure is usable, safe. Our goal is that we're going to take and learn some things and be able to put them in place for future generations so that the problems that we face now may not be such a big challenge in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So the role of community liaisons for this project has been essential. Without them, we'd be lost. I mean, quite frankly, the 3 of them from the 3 communities involved in our project have gotten into the community in a way that we just wouldn't have time to do without them. I've never seen a grant that actually helped to fund a person to help facilitate the grant. I think that's a great idea. And our community liaisons have had town meetings with people in our town halls, have actually spoken to residents, gone out of the way to educate people about the process, about this grant and what we're doing with it. They've also had a plan to go into, this is part of the grant process, but they're planning to go right into the elementary school and speak to our students at a young age to get them sort of thinking in advance about dirt roads and about their communities and about climate impacts on those roads. And without the community liaisons, we just wouldn't have the chance to be able to do that as in depth as they have. So I think it's fantastic.
My name is Joyce Losik-Yang. I'm at the Town of Andover's Director of Sustainability and Energy. So multiple times, most recently in 2006 and 2010, riverine flooding from the Shawsheen have caused evacuations from homes, as well as the closure of schools and the rescue of people from places like shopping centers. And Lawrence, I would say, is probably among our sister communities one of the most vulnerable, because not only is it getting the full force of the Shawsheen as it comes through Andover on its way towards a Merrimack, is when these heavy precipitation events and flooding event happens, it's also getting the convergence of the Merrimack River as well. It puts a heavy emphasis on the importance of our work, because the river doesn't really obey geographic boundaries. It really affects both of these communities. The community didn't really know how to go about identifying, well, where should we act? And if we acted to protect different land parcels and put them into the contiguous wetland protection area or corridor, what the impact would be. And that's really the standpoint from which we started the MVP action grants that we've gotten. We have begun to change our own municipal operation of engagement. The pattern in the past is who shows up gets a say. So making sure when we talk about resilience to visit housing and people who are directly affected by the flood, and making sure we communicate with them our intent, our approach, and how they can help. And last but not least, I want to mention that our students, not only in Andover, but across the Merrimack Valley, have been critical partners along with us every step of the way. And it's their enthusiasm, their call for action, and the sense of urgency that they feel. It's really helped to tie a lot of groups together. The climate summit we held last year, it was in fulfillment of one of our outreach thrusts under the first MVP Action Grant, but partly also it was again a rallying cry to action, not only for Andover, but regionally across the Merrimack Valley. They issued a joint statement on climate, a youth joint statement, and I still get goosebumps when I think about that moment.
As you embark on your MVP 2.0 process, we encourage you to strive for transformative adaptation and to engage your community meaningfully. Remember, resilience building takes time, and the MVP grants are here to support you along the way. You're not alone on this journey. There are so many tools and examples available to guide and inspire you. And finally, remember that we can go farther together. Consider regional partnerships for regional challenges and ensure those most affected by climate change lead project decisions.
What I would hope is that each neighborhood sort of maintains its unique identity, but that each of those unique neighborhoods is thriving, and it feels like a community where folks can have all of their needs met. The commercial centers of each of our unique and diverse neighborhoods are thriving, and that the businesses and amenities in those neighborhoods are things that folks that live in those neighborhoods want to access and can access by walking there.
Andover has had a historic mill district overlay. It's an overlay district that we imposed upon existing zoning to ask the developer of that parcel to pay attention to low impact development strategies, to incorporate native species, to manage stormwater on site. Well, we're starting to wake up to the fact that we should be asking that of all of our development partners. In 50 years, we'll hopefully have incorporated that into our way of operation, and that is the norm rather than the exception. We'll hopefully have protected the most vulnerable among us with good planning, good strategies, so that we no longer have the faces of devastation that we've seen in the past, and that these faces are resilient and people helping each other to bounce back from an incident. And so hopefully our town meeting in the future consists of a lot more people that we don't yet see, and that they're there to make decisions that works for everyone.
There are these little pockets of green, and they have potential, huge potential, to have native plants and climate resilient plants in them. And that expanded into every potential growing spot. That would be my dream. That would just be my dream, because then it'd be like the whole town would be growing, right?
50 years from now, I won't be here, but let's just assume that I am. My grandkids are swimming in this pond. The sandy, rocky shoreline is back. People harvesting from here, fishing, eating it, enjoying it. Native species have been reintroduced. Just a clean pond, right? A community pond where people can come down and enjoy this resource. I mean, it's a fabulous resource for the entire community.
So I see a future that is similar to today, where we still have a beautiful community, but we've learned how to manage our problems. We've learned how to deal with our infrastructure issues, especially those things that plague us today. Really what our goal is to take what we learned from this process and use it to make a better future for our communities.
Thank you for joining us. This is the MVP 2.0 process, your support to building a resilient future. Let's get to work.